All right, in this video, I want to introduce you to some very basic information on SketchUp. Now, all of our woodworking plans come with a completed 3D file. And this file, once you understand how the very basics of SketchUp works, will be invaluable to you, not only to learn what it is you're building, but also answer any questions you might need in regards to dimensions or how a part might go together that the plans just are not providing for you, or if you just have a question on something, this will allow you to get that answer very quickly. So first thing we're going to do is open up your internet browser and type in the word SketchUp. And then you want to look at the options given to you. But we're going to go right here to SketchUp.com. And SketchUp has a couple of different options. So what we're interested in is the free version of SketchUp, which is a web-based version. So we're going to go right here to SketchUp Free. They also have a desktop version. They have a version that works on your iPad, so that's kind of cool. So but we're going to go to SketchUp Free right here, and we're going to click on the Start Modeling button. And this little icon will appear for a while, and then it does take a minute to open up the 3D modeling interface where we can open up our SketchUp file. Don't be alarmed. It does take a little bit of time, as you see. So we're going to choose on the option to open from device. And I'm going to open up this file. So any of our woodworking plans are going to have this SKP file. So let's open that up. And that will open up in the online version of SketchUp, and we're ready to get to work. So this is our completed 3D model. So every component that goes into building this is right here in front of us now. So first of all, the most important thing is how do we go look at our file? Well, we go to O, and that goes into the orbit command, or we could click right here on this little toolbar, and we could just click around, and we could just spin it any way we want to. If we want to look at the bottom, we could zoom in and out with our wheel of our mouse. I just had this question asked of me just the other day. Now, to get out of orbit, I'm just going to hit the escape key. But somebody asked, well, can you show me the back of it? And I said, well, have you looked at the SketchUp file? And they're like, no, I don't know what that is. And that kind of prompted me to make this video because we provide the file, and it's really quite useful for you. And it's what I'm going to show you here is actually very simple. Now I will tell you this: I went to school for architecture, so modeling in 3D is kind of natural to me. But because I've done a lot of it, over the years. But don't be intimidated by SketchUp. There's a lot of great free video tutorials. So if you're a woodworker, SketchUp is really an invaluable tool to you. And even if you're not a traditional woodworker, where SketchUp can be quite useful for you to help you understand what you're building, help you from making mistakes, because that's why we provide that SketchUp file, is so we can really get a good grasp of what we're doing before we actually do it. So one of the questions was, well, can I see the back of it? Because I didn't understand from the plans exactly how this setup was being put together. And I said, well, did you look at the SketchUp file? Well, no, I don't have SketchUp. Well, a lot of times people think, well, SketchUp costs money, because it does, but not this online free version does not cost anything. So, so at any rate, I kind of walked them through that process and have them better understand the file. So if we click on an object, you could see that there's lots of these objects that are now highlighted in blue. And what that tells me is that there's a whole group of objects there. And what I wanted to show the end user was that this was one assembly. So I'm going to hit the M key on my keyboard to move this, and now you can kind of see better how this would have gone together. So see, there's like a pocket in here. So the idea is that I'm going to hit my move key again, is that this, I'm going to go from endpoint to endpoint there. So I'm going to move it straight up instead of, so you can see how that would just kind of slide in to that pocket. See how that slides right in? And so that's what they wanted. That's basically what they were wanting to see. So so we've kind of gone over the move tool. Now this is the move tool over here in your toolbar. Okay, I would definitely get used to using your keyboard shortcut, because to me it's just easier. So we can move it out of the way. We can look at it. We hit Control Z. That will undo our last command, and then we can hit the Escape key, and that will get us out of the move command. Okay, we'll go back. We'll just go back to our selection option here. Okay, so I'm going to click on this piece and kind of talk about something else now. So what if I want to see, uh, remove this piece? I could just simply select it. It is the only item selected, and I could hit the D key on my keyboard, or the delete key rather, and that will delete it. Or I could select an item, right click, and hide it. And so now I've hidden that geometry. I'm going to undo that. And there is another option over here, what's basically your eraser tool. And look down here. See, it says click or drag to erase items. If we hold the Control key down, we can soften or smooth items. If we hold the Alt key down, we can toggle the unsmooth, unhide option, or we can shift a hide. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hold my Shift key down and click on that item, and that will hide it. Okay, so now I've hidden it. But notice it says if I do the Alt key, I can unhide it. So I'll unhide it, and you can see as I just swiped over the area where it should be, it came back. Okay, so Shift will get rid of it. Okay, and then we're holding the Alt key and swiping where it should be, and see now that those little lines appear, and I can click, and boom, it comes back. Okay, so that could be quite useful to see geometry behind. Another thing that I find particularly useful is, especially when I'm modeling, but also when I'm just looking at a model, especially from the back side, I can hit the K key on my keyboard, and that will show me hidden geometry. So I'm looking at the back side of my champagne wall, but now I can kind of get an idea of where those horizontal shelves are, because we're going to be screwing from the back side through our back piece of plywood into our horizontal shelves. Okay. Now it is provided for you in the model, but what if I want to know from the bottom to the top of my shelf, what dimension is that? Again, that is provided in the drawing, but if for some reason we're looking at the drawing and we're not exactly understanding the drawing, or perhaps there's a dimension we want to know that we don't provide, this could be quite useful for you, because we have the completed project sitting right here in front of us. This is what we're building. And so we can pull a dimension from this completed project and apply it to our project. So for example, we hit the T key on our keyboard, T for tape measure, and we could see the hidden geometry. So we see the bottom of our foot. We can click on that point and drag up to the top of our first shelf, and we can see that it's telling us that it is 17 and 21/64. Okay, so we could see that just like so. And I think the reason it's doing that is the reason it's kind of an odd dimension is because of where we grab that dimension from. So I'm just going to turn this around a little bit, because we were grabbing the dimension from here and kind of coming at an angle up to here. And so what I want to know is from the bottom of this, or really the top, so really from right there to the top of there, what's the dimension? And you can see it's still a little bit of a goofy dimension. And that's because we didn't account for the thickness of our plywood. So now really the point, if we come right here, that's the front face of our plywood. That's what that hidden line represents to the top. And we can see it's 11 1/4 inches. Okay, so it's a more standardized dimension. Okay, so tape measure is quite useful. Um, and then, of course, the orbit key, that's also very key as well. And then the move key, so moves right here. Your tape measures right there. We've seen how we can hide and unhide items with our eraser tool. And that's really about it as far as working with our completed model. Now, as your SketchUp abilities come, of course, you can use SketchUp to do do your own drawings or modify our drawings. For example, just to show you how easily you could do something. If we wanted to adjust, for example, this top piece of wood here, we could just double click on it, and then we could hit the P key on our keyboard, and we could lengthen it, or we could shorten it. We could click on this face. We can make it wider if we wanted to change it from a 1x3, or this was a 2x3. We could make it a 2x6, for example. So we could modify things quite easily that way. But of course, that would require more SketchUp knowledge and things. So don't be intimidated by these files. That's the main thing. So orbiting, very easy. The O key. K will turn on and off hidden geometry. We can select an item, right click, and we can hide it. And then we can use our eraser tool with our Alt key depressed. See how it pops back up. And then if we do want it to pop back up, then we click on it and it will come back full visibility. So that is our hide, and you can also just go to your pick tool here, and again you can just right click to hide items. Now this is a group, okay? So that's why all these pieces are highlighted, because I made a group. And the reason I made a group was because I wanted to be able to show you how we can kind of simulate how this would go together in the real world, and it would slide into that pocket, snap, just like so. Okay, so that's how the move tool works. So definitely don't be afraid of getting to know SketchUp and being able to create your own things in SketchUp. But the main thing is being able to pull dimensions, check angles, those types of things. Let me show you how to check an angle, because we haven't covered that. It's perhaps a bit more advanced. Not really, but let me just show you. So let's say I don't know what this angle is. Now the plans are going to give you what that angle is. That angle, of course, is 45 in this demonstration, but it could be 30, it could be, that angle could be anything, it doesn't really matter. But if we want to know what the angle is, the easiest way for me is just to draw a line, and then we will have to select our line and hit the Q key on our keyboard, and that allows us to rotate things. So, but now we have this problem with the plane of rotation. So you see how my protractor there is sitting horizontally? Well, you can cycle through the different planes with your keyboard, with your arrow keys on your keyboard. So now I hit my left arrow key, and now visually I can see that that is the plane I want to rotate on. So I can click that start point. I can come anywhere along this line. It's going to want to snap on that line. And then click on this point, and then it tells me right down there that that's 45 degrees. And you can see that my line has been rotated that same way. So you can see that when you're working with angles, that it is a little bit more work, because we have to understand about rotation planes, and there's a few extra steps there, but it is pretty straightforward. So again, if I want to draw a line, now if you draw a line like this, See, I've just kind of drawn it out here into space. You can see the line is black. Anytime I get to a plane, for example, if I move it over here, now you can see, I say plane, the proper terminology probably is axes. So you can see that the line is turned green because now I'm on the green axis. Now again, this is just a technical drafting term that might confuse some of you, but just understand if we're black, we're literally out there in space. Okay, and when we're trying to figure out a specific angle, we need to be on a specific axis. So in this case, we're on the green axis, but that's not going to help us because we want to understand this angle. And so now you can see we're on the red axis because our line is turned red. All right, if we go up and down, you can see now we're on the blue axis because you can see it not only tells us that, but the line is blue as well. If we go back over this direction, now we're back on the red axis, okay? So so anyhow, that is obviously a little bit confusing. So now we've drawn a line on the red axis, and then we want to rotate. So we have to select the item we're rotating. That item turns blue. We can hit the Q key on our keyboard, and you can see now we are on the blue axis because our protractor is blue, and we need to be on a different axis. And this is at the top view. So if I hit my right arrow key, now you can see we're on the red axis, which is not where we want to be because now we're looking at the plane from, I guess you could say, the right-hand side of the model. If we hit down, now it says we're on a locked plane. Now this we could actually use because it's on the same plane as the line. That's what it's really telling us. It's that purple locked plane. But if we hit the left arrow key, you can see we have the same protractor, but now it's showing it that it's on the green axis. So if we come over here and click, and again, bring it down to that point that we want to measure, it does tell us here in the lower right-hand corner the angle is 45 degrees. Okay. So now that I've thoroughly confused you on that, don't be scared of SketchUp. That's the key takeaway from this because it is quite simple to work with. And those few things, orbiting is going to be able to let you look at your completed project before you ever get started. Remember, the T for tape measure will let you take some measurements here. If I want to know, okay, now I think I have this demonstrated as a 2x3. Could be a 2x4. It is 33 inches long. I'm going to go back to my orbit command, see how wide my plywood is here. So I'm just going to click on those 2 points. So my plywood is 30 inches, and the height of my plywood is 43 and a quarter, and then the lower piece of my plywood is 35 and a quarter. Okay. Okay, so we can get those dimensions quite simple using the T key on our keyboard for the tape measure. And of course, we've talked about how to hide items by clicking on them, right-clicking and choosing hide. But to bring them back, we got to go to our eraser tool, hold the Alt key down, hover over where it should be, and then click when we see the hidden geometry. That'll bring it back. Okay. So I hope that excites you enough to explore your 3D models that we provide you with your woodworking plan and learn more about SketchUp. And like I said, this online version, pretty decent thing. It's totally free, doesn't cost anything. And they do have some other great options, especially if you have kids in school and stuff. You can get SketchUp really inexpensively. And, if you want to explore making your own 3D models, everything we do in the shop, we always create it in SketchUp first because it will ultimately save us a lot of time, a lot of mistakes cutting wood. Some things we think will work don't actually work, and we'll be able to discover it right here inside SketchUp. And it didn't take me long to learn SketchUp. It is pretty intuitive, and like I said, there are some excellent video tutorials on YouTube that are free as well to learn everything you need to learn about SketchUp for your basic woodworking needs. Now there's some real advanced 3D rendering and things that SketchUp can do to give you photorealistic renderings of your woodworking projects and things that even I haven't explored. Um, but but anyhow, it is quite powerful program, and it's pretty neat because it is pretty easy to get a hold of it and understand. Okay, so that's it on SketchUp and what you might do with SketchUp with the files that we provide you. Thanks for watching.